You have repetitive tasks that you perform every day, and macros might help in saving some time doing these repetitive tasks. However, macros can only ever really just repeat what they originally recorded. And if you have situations where you need some flexibility, then it's time to lift the hood, get into the VBA editor, and start doing a bit of tweaking. And in this quick example, I'm just going to show you how you might go about taking one of your existing macros, tidying up the code a bit, and then making it more intelligent by adding a variable and making it a bit sort of self-aware when it's being run. Because oftentimes, because macros are quite boilerplate, what will happen is if there's a report that comes through with maybe 50 lines, 20 lines, 100 lines, what people will typically do is make a macro for each of those versions rather than editing the code to be able to take in however many lines it wants to simply by adding a variable and allowing the script to read the sheets to know how many rows there are. So this is what I'm going to demonstrate now very quickly, is how to take in a data set and a table, do a bit of formatting, and then using a bit of VBA, let's take our macro code and make it a bit smarter. So let's get on and do that, and I'll show you how it works. Well, first I should explain, I've got the developer tab turned on here. Now you can do that by going into options, customize ribbon, and by default the developer tab here is unchecked. But it's if you're going to be delving into VBA seriously, it's a good idea to have this turned on, so then you've got a lot more options with the macro stuff. But for the most part now, we're just going to be using this this left hand side, and we're going to record a macro. So we just call it something like formats table. So we've been asked to remove the order date column. What else do we? So clear the formats. Okay, so where is it? Home, clear formats like so. Align. So we do that. Those columns centrally align, and then what else do you want? A number format. Oh, okay. We wanted a calculated column percentage of rep over region. Okay. So we'll just do a title in here, and then we'll do some ifs. So we'll do the region first. Region. So I'm just going to copy this. So what I'm summing is the product over the region, and then I'm doing the product over the region over the representative. Oops. Double brackets, and that is a percentage. I'll just format that as a percentage. We can go to format cells, percentage down here, 0 decimal places. You can hit the button up here, but it's yeah, I think it does the same thing. Fill down, so then we can see. So Jones is selling 100% of everything in the eastern region, it looks like. Anyway, so that's our. Whoops, let's just format that as well. So that should be our macro recorded. Let's stop recording, and then here go into Visual Basic, and in here under modules, we can see the code that our macro generated, which isn't very pretty. So let's try and decipher what it's doing here. Some of it's fairly self-explanatory, some of it not so much, but so what Excel does is it records every single step. So a lot of the things that the macro does in 2 steps, if you're doing the code yourself, you can do in 1. So a prime example of this is column A, select, and then with that selection, delete it. So we don't need 2 lines, we can just go column A, delete. And the same here, we've got cells, select, clear format. We can make that 1 line again, so we're going to go cells, clear formats. Here again is where Excel throws in a lot of extra stuff that you maybe don't need. So for columns A to F, we wanted to make the alignment of the cells centered on the X and the Y axis. Again, it's recorded every single step. We don't need that. And something we can do, I guess, which would be easier, is we can go with. So we're saying with these columns, do this. So instead of, you can see on this, the 2 lines above, we're using what's called dot notation. So we're saying this object, so columns, with this object, dot, do this. So with the columns A to A, delete, with all the cells, clear formats, and so on. So with columns A to F, we're going to say, we're just going to use the only parts we need, which is the alignment, like so, and keep those nicely aligned within the code so you can see what it's doing. So we're saying with columns A to F, align center for horizontal and vertical. Next we were doing the percentage on column G, so it's done a lot of extra stuff here. So look, oh blimey, okay, yeah, that's right. So all we want here is for the range G1. Just make sure. Oops, we're recording it. Okay, right. Oops, balls. Right. So here we've got a lot of stuff, but all we need to do is say in G1 type rep percentage region. So we're going to delete all of this up until here, and that's all we need is range G1, and then set the formula. So now here is an interesting one. Well, there's a lot of extra stuff here again, but if you look, we want to have this formula in cells, well, in rows 2 to 44 in this column. And how that's typically done when you're in Excel is to double click this bottom corner and it fills down the empty cells. Something you can do in code instead of doing that, filling one cell and then filling down, instead we can say, I want to use this range, this whole range, and then, oops, copy it correctly. Then I'm going to just, I don't need that. So I'm just going to replace activecell with this range. And so now I'm saying for the whole range, G2 to G44, put in that formula. And then I can do that again. I can select that entire range and set the number format to percentage. Then all of this extra stuff, which is recorded, I don't need. So I can just go ahead and remove all that. So one final thing. When I created the new column, it wasn't aligned center. So the part here where I was doing the alignment, I can cut that out, paste that at the end, and include my column G now, and that will do everything here as we had, but in a much cleaner way, hopefully. So let's just try that. If I just go ahead and open up the original file, like so. Let's just copy that back in here. Close this. Right, so here's my original formatted, my raw file. Let's run the macro, run, and there we go. And we've got everything we need. And there we go, we filled down our formula. But, now this is the but. Say we have this again. Let's just open that file again. Quick edit there, I messed up. Right, so we've got 55 rows now. And if we run our macro, which we recorded, we're going to have a problem. Because now we have an extra 11 rows, but our macro is only accounting for 44. So how can we adapt this so it's a bit smarter than just trying to replicate a set of actions, and instead be aware of the report that's coming in, and use the right number of rows here for the formula and for the formatting. So this is where you're going to start using a bit of code. So in this case, right at the beginning, I'm going to say I'm going to create a variable for my row counts, and I'm going to make this an integer, if I can spell that. Oops. As integer. Right. Now, so we need to find the last row in the sheet. So we're going to do similar to what we did with the styling here, so with columns, but I'm going to get some data from the sheet itself. So I'm going to say with active sheet, and within this I'm going to set my variable here, my row count, equals dot cells again, so for all the cells in the sheet. And then with that, I'm going to say dot rows dot count, and this is going to select column A. And then I want to find the end of that range and moving upwards. So this is a bit like doing the keystrokes when you do, I think it's control and down, or control shift down and all that kind of stuff, where you're jumping around in a range. I find it hard to remember unless I'm actually doing it, but yeah, this is essentially doing that. So this jumps to the end of the row, then goes upwards, and this should find the last row, like so. So now, if we take this variable and see these references in here right now to row 44, we're going to delete that out, and then I'm going to say and my row count variable for both of these. So now if I run this, so I'm just going to copy a new version again. So let's just drop this in like so, and just close this. So let's make it, I don't know, let's make it just make it over 100, like so. Now when we run our macro, hopefully, oh, what happened here? Let's see. We're fine. Why is it not letting me set the number format, I wonder? Oh, right. Okay. So, be careful when you're pasting stuff in, and so Excel doesn't like spaces and things. So, if I run this now, no problem. Okay. So let's just pretend that didn't happen. But here we go. So now we're a bit more advanced than a macro because we've gone beyond just playing back a recorded sequence of events. Now we're actually using a bit of intelligence to say what's the row count on our document, and then using that to then apply our formatting and our formulas. So that's just that's a sort of starting point for you, I guess, to then have a go on your own. If I get more than, say, 10 views on this, maybe I'll do some more. But this is just just an example of how you can start sort of taking a few steps from just recording in macros to then actually doing something a bit more deliberate with it, and hopefully a bit more intelligent when it comes to reading the contents of these reports and stuff. So yes, hopefully that helps you, or at least inspires to then take a bit of a deeper look at the yes. There you go.